everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. So today we are doing the second video in my favourites and non-favourites for the first half of 2023. I am so excited. I love doing the videos in July because it's so much fun to look back on the past 6 months, kind of freak out a little and go, oh my gosh, we're already halfway through the year. But at the same time, go back and say, why not celebrate what I've been reading and draw out some of the really great books that I read and talk about them, highlight them, give them a chance to sparkle and shine. But what I specifically love is this video. Because in this video, I'm talking about my favorites by genre. So what that means is I'm a very eclectic reader. In case you don't know, I read a ton of different genres, and we'll get into more on that in just a moment too. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to discuss with you my 2 favorite books per genre, for each genre that I've read so far this year. So I've read a number of different genres and I have I have 2 books for all of those genres that I've read. So going to be a lot of fun. But first what we're going to do, because I didn't do this in my first video, but I am going to do it now, is now that the month of June is over, I filmed my favorite authors video in June. I'm filming this one as my first favorites and non-favorites film video that I'm doing since June is over. I am going to give you my statistics for all the books that I read in the first half of the year. So I'm going to give you how many books I read in the first half of the year, how many of the different age ranges that I read, how many of the different genres I read, and what all my star ratings were. So let's do that now because I thought that would be fun. So why not? In the first half of 2023, I read a total of 68 books, which is fantastic for me because my goal is to read 100 books every year, and I am over that halfway mark. So that is wonderful. I'm 18 books over the halfway mark, which is super fantastic for me. I'm very happy about that. Now let's look at age ratings, and I'm actually very surprised about this. I have read 8 middle grades, 23 YA, and 37 adult books. So the reading experience for me for the first half of the year has been dominated by adult books, which is not like me. Normally, the age rating that dominates for me each year is YA, not adult. So I'm happy about that. It's great to change things up. And now let's talk genres. The total amount of books I've read for every genre this year. Alright. There is no surprise at which genre has dominated the list for the first half of the year. So let's just bring it up, shall we? Coming in first place, Cozy Mysteries. I've read 19 Cozy Mysteries for the first half of this year. I have placed an embargo on my cozies though. If a cozy mystery is not on my SAS list, it will not be read for the remainder of the year. I want to give the other genres the chance to catch up. But coming in at number 1, cozies, 19. Coming in at number 2 is my fantasies / paranormal. I've read 12 of them in the first half of the year. There's an embargo I've placed upon myself for fantasies and paranormal. I'm not reading any more fantasies or paranormal for the rest of the year because I don't have any left on my SAS list. So no more fantasies and only cozies that are on my SAS list till next year. Alright. For LGBTIQ+, they came in third, 7 of those. Coming in equal fourth is contemporaries and classics. I've read 6 of each. And then the rest of the list is as follows. I've read horrors. I've read 4. Thrillers. I had read 1 thriller coming into June, but read 3 in June. So I now have 4 thrillers, which I'm happy about. 3 memoirs. 3 male-female romances. 2 mysteries. 2 dystopians. I had 0 dystopians coming into June, but I've now read 2. Woo! And 0 sci-fis. Yeah, the unfortunate reality is I don't have room for sci-fi even for the rest of the year, so I will be ending 2023 having read 0 sci-fis, but I do plan to make up for that next year in 2024 when I want to read a ton of sci-fis next year, just to make up for it for myself. To star ratings, Okay, here we go. 5 stars has dominated, which is fantastic. That just tells me right away I've had an overall amazing first half of the year. 27 5 stars. Excellent stuff. 12 4.5 stars. 15 4 stars. 12 3 stars. 1 2 star. And 1 1 star. And when we get to my worst books of the year, just wait till we discuss the 1 2 star and more importantly, the 1 1 star. But yeah, adult books, cozy mysteries, and 5-star rating have dominated the first half of the year. Pretty good. Alright, so now let's get on to the main feature program, everybody. My favorites by genre. So, let's start off with cozy mysteries. As I said earlier, I've read a total of 19 cozy mysteries, and the 2 I'm going to point out to you are these 2, Death of a Bacon Heiress by Lee Ann Hollis, and A Perilous Pal by Laura Bradford. As to Death of a Bacon Heiress, it is my favourite Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series book I've read this year. And yes, it's a favourite because I enjoyed it all the way through. I gave it 5 stars. It was bacon themed. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I love my bacon. So if I'm going to read a book that is dominated by bacon and recipes that involve bacon, you're going to make me very happy. Add in a character that reminds me quite heavily of Rosie O'Donnell, I'm going to have an even better time. Add in a portion where you have our protagonist going on TV, I'm going to have an even better time. I had a blast reading this book, so it had to make it as one of my favorites for cozies. As to A Perilous Pal by Laura Bradford, that is book number 2 in the Friend for Hire mystery series. This duology, so far, we are putting out words to the Laura Bradford Cozy Mystery Heavens right now, saying, please, Laura Bradford, please, please, please write more. Because this so far duology has been the coziest of cozies that I've read. And I mean, when you're going to call a genre, technically a subgenre, but a genre, a cozy mystery, then oh my goodness, if you're going to be able to pick up the coziest of cozy mysteries, then for someone like me, you're going to be wowed. I had a fun time. A Perilous Pal had to be mentioned. It was an amazing read. I highly recommend it. Very quick setup. We follow a woman who her job is that she is a friend for hire. She advertises that she will do friend things with you if you hire her to do that, if that's something you want to do. So, maybe you want someone to go to the gym with. Maybe you want someone to start a book club with. Maybe you want someone to cook with or something like that. It is extremely cozy, and the dog on the cover, oh my gosh, I'm an amazing dog. Love this series. Okay, fantasy and paranormal. As I said earlier, I have read 12 fantasy paranormal books so far this year, and I put an embargo on myself. No more fantasies for the rest of the year, which is going to be very tough for me to do. But anyway, the 2 books that I'm highlighting are Last Rite by Lisa DesRochers and As Told by the Boys by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. Okay. Last Rite by Lisa DesRochers is the 3rd book in the Personal Demons series. This is a series that has taken me 3 years to read 3 books, but anyway, it just worked out that way. It's nothing against the series, it just worked out that way. But this is the 3rd and final book in that trilogy, and it was fantastic from start to end. The basic setup for the series is that heaven sends down an angel, hell sets up a demon, because they're trying to tag a human who's going to be integral in this upcoming futuristic battle between heaven and hell. And so, yeah, the angel obviously wants to tag her for heaven, and the demon wants to tag her for hell. How are things going to go? All I'm going to tell you is the 3rd book is where the heaven and hell battle takes place. And boy, was it fantastic. From start to end, I love the book. I recommend the series. If you're looking for an underrated gem of a series, this is one to look at. I have not seen the Personal Demon series get promoted anywhere outside of my channel, really. So if you have, let me know. Give it a go. If you like YA fantasy, I think you'll love it. The other one, As Told by the Boys, will have a special place in my heart forevermore. It is technically referred to as Book 1A in the Zodiac Academy series. So I started the Zodiac Academy series this year, having read Book 1, this book, Book 1A, and Book 2, before I put in my fantasy embargo on myself, which this is why it's going to be hard to do that embargo, because I want to get back to Zodiac. But I will. Next year, it's on my SAS list for 2024, and best believe I'm prioritizing with it. But the reason why I'm prioritizing with this book for this video, for my fantasy / paranormal favorites, is because I loved this book. This book hooked me in from the very first sentence all the way through to the very last sentence of the book. I have some up and down things to do with book number 1 and book number 2, but book 1A was perfect for me. It is the boys' perspective of what was going on in book 1. Book 1 is called The Awakening, but you could otherwise entitle it As Told by the Girls. And then obviously we have 1A, the perspective of the boys, as told by the boys. And this was just very action-packed. I loved the boys. I loved getting to meet them, finding out what their motivations were, getting to know who they were as individuals, their backgrounds, things like that. It was just so intriguing for me from start to end. I highly recommend it. I know that Zodiac Academy has been hyped up, but from what I've read so far, I love the series, and so I can honestly tell you, coming from an honest place, someone who doesn't normally jump on a hype train, so far, this series has been worth the hype for me. And if you can read As Told by the Boys in tandem with The Awakening, which is what I did, I highly recommend that too. Because if you just read The Awakening and you wait for a while before you read As Told by the Boys, you only get the girl's perspective. Where if you read The Awakening and As Told by the Boys in tandem, there is a way to do this. It's actually linked on many websites, so you can look it up. Then you go back and forth between the girl's perspective and the boy's perspective. A great book, and yeah. Looking forward to getting back to Zodiac Academy next year. Next up, contemporaries. And for contemporaries, I've read a total of 6 books this year. And the 2 I'm highlighting are Eliza and Her Monsters, plural, by Francesca Zappia. And What to Say Next by Julie Buxbaum. I can't talk today for some reason. Anyway, we'll let that go. I'm just going to be quick here because I'm already way behind and this has taken long enough. So, okay, Eliza and Her Monsters. We follow a girl who writes a web cartoon series. She very much lives in this series, and it is a great study in introspection and introversion. I felt that the book was an entertaining read, but I also appreciated Francesca Zappia's research into introversion and introspection. If those are 2 topics that interest you, I highly recommend it. It's a middle grade contemporary, but my goodness, did Francesca Zappia absolutely do her homework when it comes to introversion and introspection. What to Say Next by Julie Buxbaum blew me away. We have, I believe it's singular perspective. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but if memory serves correct, it's singular perspective. We follow a girl whose one of her parents passed away, and she can't deal with being around her friends because they're going to dog her all this time while she's going through grief and loss. So she sits on her own she's a high schooler. She sits on her own at the cafeteria. A boy approaches her who is on the spectrum, and he just blurts out, so I think it was her mother that died. And he says, so your mother died. And it's not a question, it's just a statement. And somehow she finds that it's easier to confide in a stranger. And we move forward from there. She's going through her grief and loss. He is struggling, being considered to be a pariah because people don't know how to deal with him being on the spectrum. And they form a fantastic friendship. So I highly recommend both of these books if you want great contemporaries. I should read an adult contemporary because Eliza and Her Monsters is middle grade and What to Say Next is YA, but we'll move on from that. Okay, next category is LGBTIQ+. As I said, I've read 7 this year. There are so many I could highlight. I'm just going to highlight these 2, but trust me, I probably could highlight every single LGBTIQ+ I've read so far this year, all 7. But anyway, let's just highlight these 2. How It All Blew Up by Arvan Ahmadi and The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera, both for different reasons. So, I had just come off reading the Amanaz song duology featuring Amina's song and Amina's voice. Sorry, the other way around. The Amina's voice duology featuring Amina's voice book 1, Amina's song book 2. And I loved that contemporary series. It was a series following a Muslim girl and dealt with that being the contemporary side of that series. That series motivated me, just for my own personal reasons, to want to track down an LGBTIQ plus male hard-hitting contemporary romance where we follow a guy who just so happens to be gay and Muslim and see how that went. So I came across this book, I read it, I absolutely loved it. It is Own Voices. Arvan Ahmadi is gay and Muslim, so always good to read an Own Voices work, even if it is fictional. And, yeah, the book itself was also incredibly entertaining. We start off with following our protagonist who is in an interrogation room because he and his Muslim family were having a fight on an aeroplane, and he says at the beginning of the book, "No, we're not terrorists. We're not. We were just having an argument on a plane." And then the whole story comes to light. That makes it sound like it's a really tough book to read. It's actually not. It's a really beautiful book for the majority of it, but there are just some hard-hitting moments that do come up every now and again. It was exactly what I wanted to get out of it, so really, really happy I read it. First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera is book 0 in the Deathcast series. I read They Both Die at the End, book 1, a couple of years ago. I love Adam Silvera as an LGBTIQ plus male, hard-hitting contemporary author, Own Voices. Adam Silvera is a gay guy. You really can't go wrong, in my opinion, with Adam Silvera. With Adam Silvera's fantasies, that's another story, in my opinion, but we'll let that go and feel free to find someone else who talks about that. But as far as his male hard-hitting contemporary books, oh my gosh, let's bow down to the king, Adam Silvera. The guy is amazing. I believe I started off my experience of reading male contemporaries with Adam Silvera, and I haven't looked back since. It had been a while between Adam Silvera hard-hitting male contemporaries, since he had published another male contemporary, and he published this one to create world building for They Both Die at the End to discuss how everything came about. So this is the prequel. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was done really well. I was captivated from start to end. It's Adam Silvera. To me, Adam Silvera is an author by author. The more male hitting contemporaries he wants to release, the more I'm going to purchase them. I absolutely will. It's Adam Silvera. In my opinion, you just can't go wrong. I've praised his name so much this year. And if you want to read a hard-hitting male contemporary and you haven't tried a Silvera yet, I highly recommend you do. But if you're looking for a male who just happens to be gay and Muslim, hey, give How It All Blew Up a go. I loved both of these books. The next genre is classics, and I have read a total of 6 classics so far in the first half of the year. One of them was a standalone. The other 5 are part of one series. So while I've read 6 classics, most of them have been one series. So the series is the Chronicles of Narnia. At the time when I was creating this list, I had a different book up to the one I'm going to put up now. So I was going to put up The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, but then last month, right at the end of that halfway mark, I read The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis, and that's going up instead. And next to that, I'm putting Aladdin. Walt Disney is credited as being the author for Aladdin. Okay, very quickly, I'll explain Aladdin first. So I was with my mum in May. We were at the mall, and we came across a picture book of Aladdin, the Disney movie cartoon that I had grown up loving. I have wanted to find Aladdin, the Disney cartoon version. I can't stress that enough. I don't like the live action. I just don't. But I love the cartoon so much. In a book for a long time. The only place I've managed to find it is in an omnibus of short stories called 1001 Arabian Nights. I didn't want that. I wanted it as a standalone, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Till my birthday month, when I was with my mum at the mall, I told my mum I was whisper squealing because I didn't want to squeal. I was at the mall, but I was whisper squealing, and my mother purchased it for me. I took it home and read it right away, and I loved it. So I highly recommend it. If you can get yourself a copy of Aladdin, I highly recommend reading it. And if you don't want to read it, watch the movie. It is so good. I have never found a hero that I related to more than Aladdin, and I've never found a villain that I've been more impressed by than Jafar. So I highly recommend Aladdin. I'm biased. What can I say? I gave it 5 stars. As for Voyage of the Dawn Treader, it is so whimsical and wondrous. It is the standout book for me so far. It is the latest one I've read in the series, and I can't wait to read the final 2, but at this stage, absolute standout, 5 stars. So many different things that the kids experience in this one. All these different moments of whimsy and wonder that continue throughout the course of the book that just made it a blast that it had to be mentioned here. On to horror. And I have read a total of 4 horrors, which honestly, for the first half of any year since I've started BookTube, having already read 4 horrors is very different for me, because normally I save up my horrors till October, but I grew to love Ian Rob Wright. And so 3 of the 4 horror books that I read were Ian Rob Wright books. And the other horror that I read, well, just like Shania Twain once quoted, that don't impress me much. So therefore, we're going to put these 2 books up on the screen. Final Winter by Ian Rob Wright and Sam by Ian Rob Wright. Okay, so both of these books are part of the Damien Verse quartet. Final Winter is book 3? Yes, 3. And Sam is book 1. Okay, all you need to know about the series in general, the Damien Verse series, is it's 4 books, it's a quartet, but they might as well be standalone. So you can read them in any order. Last year I read The Housemates, which is book number 4, didn't know it was, found out it was, added it to my SAS list this year, and then read 1, 2, and 3. I loved Final Winter because the ending was so good. It came right out of left field. And I love Sam because, again, the ending was so good. Asbo nearly made it on this list because Asbo was fantastic as well, but I had to choose and end up going with these 2. If you want horrors that are actual horrors, I highly recommend Ian Rob Wright. Let's keep going. Memoirs. So I've read 3 memoirs this year. One of them was so-so, but the other 2 are fantastic. So let's put up Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham and Behind the Voice by Anthony Kalia. Okay. Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham is the second Lauren Graham memoir I have read. A couple of years ago, I read Talking as Fast as I Can. Yes, I learned to talk quickly by my dear friend Lauren Graham. Well, she's my friend. I don't know if she knows that she's my friend, but in my opinion she is, and she writes her books as though she is, because reading either of those 2 memoirs that Lauren Graham wrote did not feel like reading a book at all. It felt like sitting down with Lauren as her friend as she's having a nice discussion with you. And I just love it. I love memoirs. I don't read them enough, but every time I read a memoir, I keep thinking, why don't I read more memoirs? I do love them. It's just memoirs aren't a high priority for me when it comes to genres. But with Lauren's, it literally feels like she's sitting down and having a nice chat with you. If you love Lauren Graham, or if you love Lorelai Gilmore, the character she's best known for playing from Gilmore Girls, you will love reading either of her memoirs. It's just that Have I Told You This Already is the one that I read this year, so that's why it's being highlighted. But yeah, loved both, and this one deserves to be highlighted. As for Behind the Voice by Anthony Kalia, in case you don't know, if you've been following me for a while, you're probably sick of me telling you the backstory of this, but if you're new, very quickly, Anthony Kalia was the runner-up of season 2 of Australian Idol, but there is a lot more to him than that. That does feature in this book, but the purpose of the book is that Anthony is gay, and he, I'm going to say came out. There's more to the story than meets the eye that I don't want to give away because it's a spoiler, but let's say he came out, during a really tough time when it was illegal to get married in Australia. He ended up marrying his husband overseas in New Zealand, and many things went down. It was a very interesting book. Anthony is a fantastic guy. He has an amazing voice, but his heart is as big as the ocean. And I highly recommend reading this book if you would like to read a memoir, or a memoir written by a guy, because this is the first memoir I've written that was written by a guy. But I loved both of them equally. Okay, to romances, that is male-female romance. I've only read 3, and they all came from the exact same trilogy, which is the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy by Jenny Han. Let's put up P.S. I Still Love You and To All the Boys I Loved Before. P.S. I Still Love You, which is book 2 in the trilogy, is my absolute favourite of the trilogy. I think I gave it 5 stars, if I remember correctly. It was just perfect. There was nothing that I didn't like about book 2. Book 1, To All the Boys I Loved Before, I did not enjoy the first half at all. Our protagonist, Lara Jean, came across as very immature, but by the second half, she had matured, and I enjoyed that. So, I went through an arc with this series, a personal arc, which was really didn't like the first half of book 1, loved the second half, loved all of book 2, and I just wish I had not read book 3, to be honest. That's when we kind of just fall off the cliff. Book number 3. We won't talk about that. Just like the other book we don't mention on this channel, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I mean, the Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins of 2023 is, oh gosh, whatever that book 3 is called. Something Lara Jean. Always and Forever, Lara Jean. Yeah, so anyway, those are the only 3 male-female romances I've read so far this year. That doesn't mean that is the only male-female romances I will read for the entire year, but that's all I read for the first half of the year. There are many more to come. The series overall was a letdown for me, but I really did love P.S. I Still Love You. I'm just putting up To All the Boys I Loved Before because I wanted to have 2 options for you. Let's move on. Thrillers. As I said, I have read 4 thrillers now. But coming into June, I had only read 1. The 2 that I'm going to highlight for you, I read both of them in June, and they both got overwhelming 5 stars. Number 1, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Number 2, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Both of these books had me going from, I don't think I'm ever going to find a thriller again that I like. I've only ever read 1 that I loved, which was The Woman Outside My Door by Rachel Ryan. I don't believe in thrillers anymore. I just seriously don't believe in thrillers anymore, but I want to try and be more well-rounded, so fine, I'll pick up a thriller. And then I read The Woman in the Window and went, oh my gosh, I believe in thrillers again. So let's talk about that one first. So we follow a woman, I forgot her name, who is agoraphobic. She has a fear of going outside, and things happen throughout the course of the book. I don't want to spoil it. It's a thriller. A lot of people consider anything that you say to be a spoiler when it comes to a thriller, when it comes to the premise of a thriller. So we follow a woman who's agoraphobic. Things go down. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. We find out a reveal towards the end that blew me away. I did not expect it at all. It was so good that I ended up finishing the book, giving it overwhelming 5 stars, and then watched the visual adaptation, and gosh, did I wish I hadn't. Because the film really let me down. The film just wasn't good. It just wasn't. But the book was fantastic, and I hope to read more A.J. Finn in the future. Silent Patient is a book where we follow a woman who 6 years ago killed her husband. She has gone to a sanitarium since then and hasn't uttered a word from the moment she killed him. Why did she kill him? And why hasn't she spoken since then? It is time to find out. My goodness, when we found out, whoa, did it knock my socks off, to the point that I'm reading my second Alex Michaelides book in a row. 1 in June, 1 in July. I'm reading The Maidens in July, and I can't wait. These 2 books helped me to believe that, yes, I can still be blown away by thrillers, helped me have faith and believe again in thrillers. That's why they had to be mentioned. Okay, we're going to fly through these last 2. Dystopians, Matched by Ali Condi, Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. These are the only 2 dystopians I read in the first half of the year, but I did like both of them. And both of these series are on my SAS list, so I will be talking a heck of a lot more about the series as a whole as we go throughout the year. And to mysteries themselves, not cozies, but standard mysteries, I've read 2. They are Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabenstein and Neverworld Wake by Marisha Marisha Pestle. I loved both of them. Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library may be a middle grade mystery, but it was fantastic. And Neverworld Wake I thought was a thriller. As a thriller, I was let down, but as a mystery, I really did love it, and it involves being in a perpetual time loop that needs to be broken and was fantastically done. Alright, we've gotten to the end of the video, we've run out of time, but those are all the books I want to show you, which is why I've rushed my way to the end. But we have so many more favourites and non-favourites coming your way this month, you are going to be inundated with them. So, let me know some of your favourites by genre in the comments section below, but in the meantime, let the celebration keep going, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world, and until next time, happy reading! Bye everyone!